What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and to continue my series of Studio Ghibli reviews, I'm here to let you know that Spirited Away is no perfect movie, even though every other Studio Ghibli fan would tell you otherwise. So, Spirited Away is about a young girl named Chihiro, played by David Chase, who is trapped in the spirit world because her parents took a wrong turn on the way to their new house. And after her parents get transformed into pigs, in order to rescue them and return home, Chihiro has to take a job at this mythical bathhouse for spirits that's run by a witch named Yubaba, played by Suzanne Pleshette. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I only know her from Lion King 2, and that's about it. And her seemingly kind-hearted apprentice Haku, played by Jason Marsden, who was also in Lion King 2 and actually played Yubaba's son in Lion King 2. Huh. Nice parallels. So, it goes without saying, if you're a Studio Ghibli fan or an anime fan, that Spirited Away is one of the most critically acclaimed Studio Ghibli films of all time, one of the most commercially successful anime movies of all time. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was the most successful anime film ever up until Your Name, and then Spirited Away got re-released in theaters and took that title back, which really doesn't say a whole lot. And it's also the only 2D animated film to have won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and since Into the Spider-Verse is partially hand-drawn, it's the only other film that's really taken that title. So there's a lot riding on its shoulders, but I gotta be honest, I've never really understood the mass appeal of Spirited Away. If anything, I find it the most overhyped anime film of all time, let alone the most overhyped Studio Ghibli movie of all time. And in order to explain myself, I'm going to cover the flaws that I have with this movie first before going on to the strengths, because there are strengths to it, and every time I watch this movie, I sit down and I go, yeah, it's fine. I don't think it's spectacular, but it's fine. And my main problem, oddly enough, started happening during the first 10 minutes when Chihiro and her family take this wrong turn while they're going to a new house. They initially think, okay, if we go through this tunnel, maybe we'll find a shortcut or whatever. And then they find out that it appears to look like an abandoned theme park that looks incredibly shoddy and run down, and like all the buildings are going to crumble down on each other. That would be a pretty good reason to turn around and walk away, but nope, they decide to keep exploring and saying moving to a new town is an adventure and shit like that, which, sure, unless the buildings look like they're about to fall over just by gusts of wind and such, but they keep walking around anyways, and they discover that there is food. Freshly cooked food, seemingly by no one. They call out to possible employees because apparently, even though it looks so shitty, it's not an abandoned theme park, and even though it does look so shitty, screw it. This food smells good. Let's eat it. I don't care if the employees don't show up or whatever. We have credit cards, we have cash. Let's just eat it like a buffet. And then they fucking turn into pigs, which, yeah, clever symbolism there, haha. But, you know what? Parents in Studio Ghibli movies can be naive and dumber than the kids are, but sometimes that helps with the comedy and the fantasy side of it, because the kids in these movies are usually the ones who understand the fantastical elements of the story the most, and that's what makes them so interesting. But in this, it really just seems like these parents are so dumb and naive for no real purpose other than to propel the plot forwards. And some people are going to say, well, maybe the food was part of some temptation spell or hypnotic trance or something like that. I doubt that. I find that bullshit for one specific reason. Actually, not one specific reason, there are a few reasons. For one, Chihiro doesn't fall for any of the temptations. Second of all, when she meets Haku, he says, you guys have to leave before before sunset, otherwise you guys are going to be trapped here. So, yeah, they could have left at their own free will. Third of all, every spirit in this world hates humans, so why on earth would you have a spell to trap them and turn them into pigs so that you can eat them? Does that seriously not change anything? They're still humans, so what is eating them gonna do? If you hate them, if you hate their stench, why would you want to eat them? There are so many things about the world building and the rules of this world that make absolutely zero sense, especially, and this was the other thing that really bugged me, it's a problem that some people complain about with Howl's Moving Castle, but I think Howl's Moving Castle had more of an excuse than it does here. The whole idea where every employee of this bathhouse is given a new name by Yubaba, and if they forget their old name, they'll never be able to escape, which I get the symbolism there, especially when Chihiro, as she's moving to this new town, is given a bit of an identity crisis that she has to overcome by herself by using her own wits, especially with remembering her own name. I understand that part. What I don't understand is that if you can write down your real name and keep it in your pocket without any consequences whatsoever, because really, you don't have to hide it. All you have to do is stick it in your pocket. Who the fuck is going to notice that? It seems like such an easy task that you really wonder what it was that these guys did in order to get themselves stuck working for this witch, especially Haku, the apprentice, who gave her this wisdom: keep your name so that you remember it. I don't remember my own name, which... How the fuck do you not remember your own name? These rules really don't make any fucking sense. But my biggest problem with this movie, by far, is that I didn't feel a sense of awe or wonder for this movie. Hayao Miyazaki's no stranger to characters moving to new homes like My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service, but they still found ways to address the darker aspects of it, meeting new friends, or getting adjusted to this new world that might treat you a lot more harsher than your previous home did, but still finding levity by the new friends that you make and the new locations that you get to live in and get to soak in just how beautiful nature can be. That doesn't happen with this movie, because even though there is seemingly an entire town and an entire resort for spiritual creatures, you spend maybe 80% of the movie, if I had to guess, just in this one bathhouse. All these other restaurants and other locations in this world, you don't go anywhere near, except for during the last third where they have to take a train to this other witch in order to settle a dispute. It leads to that great train sequence that everyone talks about and everyone loves, and for good reason. That is, in my opinion, the best scene in the movie. But that was the scene where it also occurred to me, all the scenery that everyone praises as being so bright and beautiful and some of their best, you see it over and over again, and the spectacle of it really loses its touch after a while, especially with the character designs. The horseradish spirit or whatever, yeah, he looks cool, but after seeing him over and over again, the magic just goes away because you're already used to it. Chihiro spends the majority of this movie being completely shocked and horrified by everything that's going on around her, and it's not till the very end of the movie that it's obviously a deliberate choice that she starts to be a lot more uplifting and starts to experience the magic of being in this world and experience the magic of meeting friends who treat you with respect and kindness that you wouldn't have guessed that they would treat you like that before. And I'm going to get more into those themes later on because they are really good themes. And it makes sense that throughout the majority of the movie, she is shocked and horrified in order to appreciate these people and appreciate the world that she's used to in order to find peace with her new setting. I understand that. But at the same time, like I said before, Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, what was so interesting about it was that an uplifting moment and a depressing moment could happen at any point, which made it unpredictable, which made it feel a lot more realistic. This movie just felt very dreary and pessimistic in regards to the characters' reactions, that every time something magical happened, very rarely did I actually experience it along with them. But, as I said before, there are obviously strengths to this movie. The journey that Chihiro goes through over the course of this movie is by far the most investing aspect of it. She has to go from a sullen, shy, and very impolite child at times to someone who is much more brave, compassionate, mature, can make so many decisions by herself, and learns characteristics about her that she never knew she had, mainly her perseverance, especially during probably the one scene that really clicked with me the most at first, which was her first day of work, where she's given the sole task of bathing this giant spirit covered in oil and gunk and has so much pollution stuck in the middle of it. And it's not until the middle of that sequence where she realizes that nobody is going to help her, no one is going to change their minds about her because they instantly hate her for being human, unless she shows that she can put in the hard work, which is exactly what she does by pulling at this pollution by herself. And then once everybody realizes what she's doing, they help her out. Even Yubaba shows some respect to her in the end when it turns out they succeed in cleaning by actually hugging her. Yeah, she's hugging her because she's about to get filthy rich from this client, but nevertheless, she's still showing respect. And even though I've never liked the side characters in this film as much as other movies, on their own, they're still totally fine. David Hodgkin Stiers as this boiler room worker that has 6 or 7 different arms. I love how he instantly shuns her as a person whenever she asks for a job, just to show how much perseverance, just how stubborn she can be when she refuses to leave, even butts into his own work in order to show that she's capable of doing more than she seems, and that's what gains his respect. That part I really liked, and that was a character that I really wished I could see more of. Susan Egan from Hercules and Porco Rosso is just as sarcastic and quippy as ever as Lynn, the one woman in the bathhouse who instantly starts to connect with her at first once she realizes that she was actually successful in gaining a job from Yubaba, and starts to realize that there is some potential to her as a hard worker. She just has to be shown compassion, and her compassionate side is by offering self-deprecating and sarcastic quips, but that's really part of her charm. It's the reason Susan Egan is just such a good voice actress. And Jason Marsden, even though I really liked him at the beginning of the movie, where he's not the reluctant hero who helps out just because he says no initially and then his conscience keeps begging him to help out, he's experienced the exact same thing that Chihiro has gone through almost in an instant. He's not gonna just put on a frown and blame her for making her own mistakes. He knows for a fact that he has to teach her in order for her to learn and become her own person. That part I really like about him as a character. But towards the third act, where he becomes kind of useless as a magician, and when you start to learn about this hidden connection between the two of them that they didn't understand until the very end, it felt very lazy. It felt very forced in terms of exposition and everything. And he was a good character. I just felt like at the very end, he was wasted in terms of potential. And as much as I complain about the overall execution of the themes in this movie, the themes themselves are very identifiable. Whenever a kid has to move from one town to another, has to change schools, even be a member of a new school club or something like that, the people who are already there to begin with are going to have apprehensions and preconceived notions against the new kid that they're going to fail miserably and nothing else. And sure enough, when Chihiro does start working at the bathhouse, she does make a lot of mistakes. And of course, the spiritual citizens just look down on her and say, "You're just a human, nothing else." It's okay to be afraid of the possibility of failure, which, even after every lesson Chihiro learns, she still maintains a level of fear because she doesn't know what the future lies ahead. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to stay on the ground and let the fear and the preconceived notions give into you. You have to be able to stand up on your own feet in order to learn from your own mistakes, in order to improve upon yourself as a person, and in order to show all the naysayers that you have so much more potential than they think. As many people have pointed out, the best scene in particular is that sequence where Chihiro and No Face, who, by the way, is easily the best supporting character in the entire film. I'd say more about him, but there is that element of mystery towards his character that makes him so fascinating, that qualities that I don't think the other side characters have, but I keep getting sidetracked. The train sequence itself, very minimal dialogue. All the other passengers literally have blank faces. No Face at least has expressions that change every now and then. And what's different from Chihiro and her new friends and all the other passengers on this train is that these passengers feel as if they're completely alone, which is why they don't say anything, which is why they don't make eye contact, which is why they don't even have any expressions. Chihiro, in these sequences, embraces No Face, embraces this baby that has been turned into a mouse and this little bird that's accompanying her, and looking at her own reflection, looking at the things that she does have right now versus the things that she doesn't have, her home, her parents. She has people that she can depend upon and people that can depend upon her when they need emotional support of their own. She's incredibly fearful of the fact that she might not even be able to rescue her parents because she's going on this train to a new location in order to settle a dispute on Haku's behalf. But she's still confident and proud of the fact that she's taking matters into her own hands, that she's standing up for someone who has done so much more for herself. And that was the overall moment where it really hit me that she had matured so much over the course of the film, and that was the reason that in the end I was glad that I watched Spirited Away. And despite how mad I am about this film, I am glad that I saw Spirited Away. It does have nice animation. It does have a lot of creativity to it. The voice actors that Disney got for the English dub do a really good job. And the themes themselves, on the surface, are really well thought out. but there are so many inconsistencies towards the execution of those themes, the world building, and the rules of this world, at least for me personally, that make it really tough for me to say that this is one of, if not the best Studio Ghibli films. I don't think that for a second. That's just how it is. And for all those reasons, I am going to give Spirited Away a 3 out of 5. I don't think my rating really makes that big of a difference, because anyone who is still watching, even after the amounts of things that I've bitched and moaned about, probably disagree with me. They're going to give me a thumbs down. They're going to comment about why I'm an asshole, or the real life scenarios that are metaphors for the themes in this movie, which, go ahead. Clicking thumbs down and commenting on my videos just gives me more internet traffic, gives me more attention. Be my guest. But thank you as always for watching. Thank you for sticking all the way through. This turned out a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Let me know in the comments below, either way, how much you disagree with me on Spirited Away. Be sure to stay tuned for more Studio Ghibli reviews. I promise they'll probably be a lot more uplifting than this video right here. Anyways, be sure to stay tuned for more Studio Ghibli reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.